Hey, VC here. So I already did like a short version of this KOM attempt. I'm going to show you the full one. So up in the right is the kind of the time frame, right? So Joey's on the top, I'm on the bottom, and you can see where the current KOM is. So it's kind of like race to get there, and that's all real time. It took me forever to get that to work. So you can actually see in real time, based on the Strava comparison deal, how you can do that. You know, you can actually see their effort. And so I get a pretty good little gap on him in the beginning. Then he actually closes it down, passes me, and then I bring it back out. And I gotta say that's probably has a lot to do with power. I don't believe Joey does anything with power. That guy's super strong. Has like world tour fitness in the way of endurance. I mean, the guy can ride like 200 miles, no problem. And so, you know, I think that the ride he did here was, you know, he went all the way to the top. So I don't necessarily know if he was trying to go for this KOM, but dude, he smashed in one section, like the middle of this climb. He lit it up. So you can kind of see that he's sort of closing it down on me, because what I basically did is kind of got to run into that. So I'm sure that when he did it 2 or 3 years ago, that they sort of just started chill and then kind of got into it. Either way, my goal for this was to hit 360 watts for 20 minutes. Because so there was 2 segments. There was a 16-minute segment, and then there was an 18-minute segment. And the 18-minute segment was the more prestigious one, right? That was like from the start of the climb to the bridge, which it flattened out, which is more of like a start and finish type thing. I hate those segments on Strava that's, you know, from the broken tree to the squiggly road. And it's just, it doesn't seem like, why would you make that? It's just someone did really good then, and at that one little weird area, so then they go back and make that segment. But anyway, you can see here that, man, he's catching up to me, right? I had a pretty good little gap in the very beginning, and then he just slowly starts to reel me back in. But again, I have power on my side. You know what I mean? So I know pretty much without a doubt that if I do 340 watts for around 20 minutes, that I'll definitely make it, that I'll definitely get the KOM. I was on track. I think right now I'm hovering around 375 watt average, or 380 watt average, and I held that for a pretty good time. I was maybe 10 minutes or so in, maybe just over that, 11 minutes, and was still like 365 average. And I wasn't hurting that bad. I was like, dude, I think I can keep this going. But like you heard in the short version of this, my power meter in one of the pedals, it just died. It said I couldn't find the right pedal. And so then I was just like, it said I was doing 100 and something watts. And I was like, dude, I'm definitely not doing 100 watts. And so then I kind of tried to like stomp on it to, I don't know, get it to start calculating again. And so it really kind of frazzled me, and just, it took basically 15 watts off my average in one fell swoop, like in a 20-second time frame. And so that was kind of a bummer, because that was sort of a goal upon a goals, you know what I mean? Because I know the segment was around 18 minutes. And so if I got to the finish and was still holding a good PR, I was going to just keep going. But it was pointless because, you know, the average was all messed up. But so you can see my heart rate was pretty much banging off the rev limiter the whole time. And I started probably a little too hard, but the first part of the climb is pretty steep. And so I kind of just wanted to get over that and get going on it. I'm using Velo Toes, which is supposed to save you a good amount of watts. They're like shoe covers. They are like a neoprene or like a spandex. They're like really, really tight. They're just super hard to get onto your shoes. But man, I felt a difference for sure. I felt like I was spinning pretty good cadence, even though it's a pretty steep climb. It flattens out a little bit, kind of in the middle-ish. But yeah, it's, you know, it takes some power to keep on top of the pedals, if you will. So here's kind of the first time I started standing, and you can see that my power really jumps up a little bit. So, you know, I had stayed seated for a while and spun a pretty high cadence, and then when I kind of started to feel like I was blowing up in that aspect, I would stand. But what's weird is I feel like my heart rate goes down, but it doesn't. I mean, I'm staring at it right now, and I'm doing 100. You know, it jumped from like 188 to 194 beats per minute by standing. But you can see that I dropped my cadence. I'm using a little bit more muscular fitness, right? So I felt like my anaerobic motor was being really tested. And was kind of getting fatigued. So then I switched up the muscle groups, and just kind of switched up so could go a little bit lower of a cadence. And I sort of feel like I can get on top of the breath, like I can get my breathing back under control. But it feels like my heart rate goes down. That's not the truth. My heart rate goes way up. So that's interesting. But so yeah, you can see that I pretty much held, I don't know, close to 400 watts. I don't know, probably averaged 380 or 390 for about a minute to 2 minutes in the middle of this effort, which sort of brought my average back up. And again, so in the video, I really kind of talk a lot about the other segment, the 16-minute segment, which was 3.1 miles. And so, because I couldn't find, for some reason, like the segment, the longer one was hidden, so I couldn't really, I couldn't explore it, or that's not the word, like, really dive into that one. But I knew a lot more about the 16-minute one. And so I have my Garmin set up to where I have my power, my raw, straight power. I have my lap power, so as soon as I hit the segment, I hit lap, so that I could see my average and gauge that way. I had my heart rate, and I had the lap distance. So when I hit lap, I knew right around how long I had been going for. And since the KOM, the first one, the small one, was 3.1 miles, I could gauge based on time, because I also had lap time on there, my time and how much distance I had covered. And I sort of kind of freaked out because, man, I was doing a good amount of watts, and I was at like 2.1 or 2.2, and I felt like I only had like a minute left or something. I was getting really close on the time, but you know, I kind of, it sort of flattens out. So then the speed really picked up. So anyway. So again, that's kind of how my Garmin set up. So really trying to gauge the distance and the pacing and that sort of thing. I rode for maybe 20 or 30 minutes before this, and sort of did like a few little leg openers, or just kind of ran around the wattage that I wanted to hold for 20 minutes for 2 to 3 to 4 minutes or something like that, just to kind of get a little bit warmed up. But honestly, these sorts of things, you know, I feel like a lot of times I will do better with a much bigger warm-up, you know, 40 minutes, an hour into my legs. You can see Joey making the comeback right here, and it's really weird. His chart's really weird, and the guy, again, he's just like a freak of nature in a good way, but he doesn't really... He's a very old school style rider. Like, you just go out and you ride hard for a million miles, you know? And so I think it really shows in his graph, right? On his power graph or like, I guess the difference between me and him was that he kind of just started off a little slow, went super hard, and then blew up. And if you have power, that you're able to negate that. You're able to not, not feel really good, like, man, I feel super good, and then you just go into a hole that is so hard to get out of. And man, that's why I'm such an advocate for power. You're just able to 100% know what you can and can't do. Like, I know for sure that I'm not going to be able to do 400 watts for 20 minutes. Okay, so when my average in the first couple minutes was over 400 watts, it's like, you know, I'm trying not to I can't sustain that. So I'm going to have to bring my watts down a little bit. And even if I feel super good, and it's like, man, you know, 330 is super easy, 320 is really easy, I know that I'm going to need to go there for a little bit, or else I'm going to blow up. So now you can see that Joey is ahead of me on time. So I'm now down. I think at the most I was up. I gotta have it right here, actually. So at the best, he was behind me by 12 seconds in the first 33 seconds of the effort, and then he got really close. He almost brought it all the way back within the first couple minutes, and then he sort of like, it's just so weird. The graph of me and him was really strange. He's all over the place. But then he actually pulls out 6 seconds on me right here. And then it's sort of weird. It's sort of then like he drops that 6 seconds, but then like picks it back up, and then drops it and picks it back up, and then looks like he just completely blows into pieces. Tree down right there. You see that tree? Now my wife is following me in the car, which is super cool of her to do. And you know, this road is not very, like, so right here, like, look at my power. Dude, there's no way I'm doing 180 watts. Like, I was standing, and so right now, it hits 0, and I'm just, like, looking at my power, like, what are you doing? And I'm trying to, like, stomp on the pedals to get it to, like, start calculating again. I'm probably doing 400 and something watts, 450 watts right there. And so, again, then, bam, it comes back. But so what happens is both the power meters, the pedals, left and right, are calculating individually, and then combine that to give you your numbers. Well, if one of them dies, which is kind of cool, if one of them dies, then it transfers over to just one side. So, you know, I would say that really also kind of messed up my average, because then it's just working off one pedal. You know, anyway, I think that until that happened, I was doing I had an average of like 365 or so, right around there, 362, 365, and was feeling good, and was going to be able to continue going with that. So, you know, that kind of is a bummer. I think I really could have set my new PR, and I'm actually pretty light right now. I went raw till 4 for about 3 weeks, and dude, you dropped so much weight on raw till 4. It drops too quickly, actually. And so then, I think right now I'm like 160. So by doing 346 and weighing 160, I think that's 5 watts per kilo, or pretty close to that. And again, that's with about 20 seconds of, you know, weird data. So I'm pretty sure that I did this is just bro science, but I probably did closer to 355 to 360, and at 160 pounds, that's definitely 5 watts per kilo. But I don't really have anything to prove it because it glitched out. Anyways, so again, I'm swapping back between standing and sitting as much as I can, and I know that there's a little spot that kind of flattens out, and I'm really looking forward to that. And it just like, it feels like, oh my goodness, it's never gonna come. And so yeah, but now this is the point where you can see that I start making headway from Joey, and I think that he just completely cracks at this point on this. And again, you can see the Strava, he continues on for the whole climb, right? I don't. I turn around, whatever. And so it's not that fair. I mean, I definitely poached this for sure. But whatever, man. He knew the segment. Strava, dude. I'm coming for segments. I don't care. So yeah, man. I have no water bottles on here, and I have no saddlebag, so I'm kind of trying to go as light as I can, because obviously this is just for the segment, and then my wife's got the water and stuff in the car. Heart rate, was around 185 to 195. People ask me a lot, like, man, why is your heart rate like that? Because my heart max is, almost 210 beats per minute, right? Getting it into 200 beats per minute is not, I could do that every ride if I wanted to. And I think that's just more genetic. Because I've talked to some really strong riders, way stronger than me. And their max heart rate and their heart rate, 170 max, 175 max. So, all right. So now we hit the kind of the flat spot, and you can see that my mile per hour is really starting to pick up, and I'm trying to get in a little bit more aero of a position. But here's the thing: is that I don't really train a lot of TT, so there's definitely a lot to being able to put out power in a time trial position. And so I'm trying to get as low as I can. I felt like I was way lower. Now that I'm looking at myself, man, I need to do more yoga. I need to get my flexibility on par. Cause I feel like I'm losing a lot there. I could easily get lower. But as you get lower, your hip flexors kind of get stifled. And so, it's really strange. Like, I can get more aero, but then my watts drop by 20 or 30 watts. And you can see that right here, where I'm trying to keep it going. Trying to keep, on top of the speed, but you can just see that my watts kind of are dropping, lipping. So I start standing again as the gradient picks back up. 3-4%. That's not that bad, but that's like at the end. And you can see now that the gap between Joey and I is pretty substantial. And again, right around here is where that other one was, the 16-minute. But it's kind of like there was no finish line, so I don't even know why that's a KOM or why that's a segment. You know what I mean? Let's go to visible features. You know what I mean? Let's go to a bridge or a road or a sign. So I take at the max. I'm 27 seconds ahead of him, and then he brought back a few of that. So I think I beat the KOM by 22 seconds. So there's that. I don't know how much faster I could have gone. It was pretty hot on this day. So that I kind of, like, at a certain point, when the heat, you can't get the heat away from you. It's just billows up inside of you. It's kind of strange. And I was really feeling that. I was really feeling the heat trapped in my chest for a little while. I didn't expect it to be that hot, but so maybe on a little bit cooler of a day, but I felt pretty good, man. I've had some really good legs, even though I haven't shown that in racing. My legs have been pretty decent. So this last little section, dude, is just these rollers, right here, man. It kicks up to 4 or 5%, which isn't that big of a deal, but man, if you're not on it, okay, it kicks up to 7. So if you're not on it, you'd lose a ton of time by, just kind of crawling over it. So I think that's the bridge up there, and I'm waxed, dude. I really went all in on this one, man. Peter out way before the finish line, but I know that I got it. And that is that, man. So you can see here the averages. So max power 577, average power 346, my max speed 28.95, 1.5 miles. Dang, that's crazy. That's fast top speed. Average speed 13.6. And my winning time was 18:22. His was 18:44. He doesn't have power. Guy doesn't run power. So that's just estimated power there. But, what if? KOM. Got it. As always, guys, thank you so much. Vegan Cyclist. Yeah.